Yeah. So now we're here on May 5th for Ask Me Anything. I am Stephen Chenault, your host for Control Lord Games. Alright, good deal. I was about to ask you a question on the other on the other side there, Chuck, to make sure this thing was actually working. We still had the stream key from Cobalt Con that we attended this past weekend. Yes, made in America. Thank you. I finally got a new shirt. It's blue though, teal technically, but all made in the United States. It's good. Very, very good. Well, we are here for another afternoon of just jibber jabber. Let's see who wanders in and who has what questions. We've got 5 or 6 Kickstarters live. We've got another one in the pan, quite ready, but that we're working on. I got Amazing Adventures that we're about to ship, and all kinds of googly goop going on. How's it going, Epi? How's it going, John? Just lots and lots of stuff. And in the midst of all that, we decided to launch 2 new projects because I just like to have more work to do. How's it going, Jason? In fact, Jason was just working on one of them. So one of the things that we're doing that I'm pretty excited about, those of you who kind of keep up with industry stuff, Fat Dragon Games, owned by Tom Pellis, a very good friend of all of ours here, but a close friend of mine. They do 3D printable miniatures. And I was looking at them the other day, and I thought it'd be cool to have encounters built up around these things so people can just, download the miniature, download an encounter, and go. So I hollered at Davis, and he wrote the first one called 𝚃𝚛𝚘𝚕𝚕 Warband, and it is based on the ogres as created by Pellis. We're going to release these. I think the first one, I think 𝚃𝚘𝚘𝚕𝚔 will come out on Thursday, and it's going to have stats in there for Castles and Crusades and stats for 5th edition. The way Davis wrote it, most of it has no stats, so you don't have to, it's just the band and their personalities and what they do and how they do it. And then the last 2 little sections, one will be a Castles and Crusades stats for these ogres, and the other one will be 5th edition for these ogres. Jason just finished I did my first 5th edition conversion. It didn't go, so smoothly. Jason cleaned it up. That's Jason Bay here in the chat. He cleaned it up, and it was kicked into editing about an hour ago. It went great. Yeah, you just don't want to do it anymore yourself. I have told Davis to keep it simple, but when Davis is writing these things, well, that's good. That's good, Jason. I need to sit down. Thank you. I need to sit down and figure that rule set out and get a better handle on it. I know Davis is up in the mountains studying it. What he's trying to do is he writes stuff. He's trying to convert it to 5th edition so that it's it's fresh on his mind. He can just do it right there, and it's easier on Jason and Mark and the other guys who are doing our conversions to get this stuff over. And obviously most of us write in the Siege Engine vernacular, and then we have to translate it over to the more modern version of Dungeons and Dragons, more commonly known as 5th edition. But very cool. So we got that rolling. I'm pretty excited about that. And then started a project with Elisa Faden, brand new. I'm not going to talk about what it is. I think it's a really cool project. She was super excited about it. She's a cartographer, for those of you who don't know. So we, in the midst of all of these Kickstarters, Codex Egyptium, Amazing Adventures, Starship Warden, Memorial Tomb, and all of that other stuff that lodged on our desk all over the place, I started 2 new projects last week. And Chuck wanted to start a new project yesterday, so we got all kinds of stuff going. I see what Steve and I are working together on the A5E. Huge news for fans of Airden is going to be epic. Absolutely, it was really kind of cool. Jason and I kind of concocted this 2 years ago or something. I don't know, it was a few years back, but we concocted kind of bringing everything together. It was really cool. And I have to say, I'm writing for the Amazing Adventures game. Now I'm doing the 5th ed for the Kickstarter, but we'll make it available for the regular version of Amazing Adventures. I'm doing a more modern version of the town of 𝚃𝚘𝚕𝚕, which some of you may be familiar with from C1 and the World of Aird, and our earliest publication, Mortality of Green, had this little town called 𝚃𝚘𝚕𝚕 in it. So I'm putting a modern spin on the whole thing. Super excited about that, and it's really kind of cool for me because I've never written game material for a modern setting, not in the past 20 years. So this is it's new, and it's allowing me to dive into amazing adventures like I have never I've never dove into it before. For the record, I don't want to start a new project this week. Yeah, Tim, well, they keep landing on your desk, though, don't they? No matter what you do, they're still coming. It's good. There's so many. The cool thing is there's so many things that, anytime I see Davis, and of course, because of the whole pandemic mess, we've not had any kind of gatherings. And Davis and I usually would sit down for at least once a week and go over stuff. There's so many things that we want to do, but we got to catch up with the things that we have not completed yet. So there's a legion of those things. So we're getting there, though. I'm pretty stoked on Amazing Adventures 5e. It's turned out to be a fantastic product. Of course, the book is done. And Jason and I were wrapping up these the smaller, the adventures and whatnot that go with it, getting all those things put together and rolling those out. So it's nice to see these projects come to fruition, and we're going to see a lot of them in the month of May. We're going to see a lot of them get wrapped up. 𝚃𝚘𝚕𝚕 got finished yesterday. We're going to sit on it for about a week and let everybody kind of go through it, and if they notice anything, we'll fix it, and we're going to go through it. I think Pat already noticed a problem with some of the art, and we got to lighten it, so stuff like that. 𝚃𝚘𝚕𝚕, and I dumped all of the files for 𝚃𝚘𝚘𝚕𝚔 on Peter's desk as well. He's giving me a very, very loose finished state of Friday. He thinks he'll have that done Friday, and if that's the case, we'll get the digital out to backers and prep it for printing as well. So those two are wrapping up. Amazing Adventures had so many books attached to it, 11 books attached to it, that Jason and I are scrambling to get all of those kind of finished up. Davis turned over the adventure for 𝚃𝚘𝚕𝚕, or we'll turn it over in the morning. He's doing a final read on it. And then Starship Warden, Peter will get all of those files as soon as he's done with 𝚃𝚘𝚘𝚕𝚔, and he's going to go through and start kind of putting the new art in and fixing some table issues and whatnot that you've got going on. So just a mountain of projects I think will come to fruition in the month of May. It's super exciting for everybody who backed all these things, and for us too. I like seeing new stuff arriving on the shelves, and it's fun. Do you have enough potted meat in the wilds of Arkansas? Man, Geek Preacher, we have got, I read somewhere last year that we have, now this might be Louisiana and Arkansas, I'm not sure, like 700,000 feral hogs. That doesn't even touch the cattle and the pigs and the chickens and the turkeys that this state has. It is, my cousin alone, she's got like 180 Black Angus. So that's just one breeder down there. So we've got so much meat in the state of Arkansas. It's mind-numbing. But I do know that they, we do seasons. Hunters do I'm not a big hunter myself, but hunters do seasons. You hunt, deer at this time, and whatever at this time, ducks and so forth and so on. You have limits and blah, blah. But they have, my understanding, and don't go shooting down here unless you double check me. Don't grab your firearms and come down here and start shooting. But my understanding is that they have no season on hogs. The feral hog population has exploded in Texas and Louisiana, and it is about 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago. It spilled over in southern Arkansas, and they're spreading across the state like crazy. And if you know anything about hogs, they are an aggressive invasive species. They are crazy. They will chew up anything, eat anything. They're very aggressive. They're just crazy all over the place. So we got plenty of bacon and ham down here, I suppose. We just stored over 100 gallons of milk at a church from the local food bank. It's crazy. Yeah, I do know that, because there's shortages, we're whatever. I guess it's the restaurants that are really causing the lack of, just like Texas, exactly, yeah. I think down in your neck of the woods, they've got helicopters flying around shooting these hogs. like those, what are those little rat-like creatures in Louisiana down in New Orleans? Nutria, something, I can't remember what they are, but some knucklehead back in 1908 or 1910 brought these things up from Brazil, and they have no natural predators. So they've just spread across Louisiana and southern Alabama like crazy, and southern Mississippi. And in New Orleans, they've got patrols that just nutria. There it is. These guys just get in these. It's a rat. It's a big ass rat. They just get in these pickup trucks and they drive around and shoot these things. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, people need to quit carrying animals. They need to quit carrying animals around the planet. How's it going, Perry? But yeah, we got lots of meat down here. So if the union starts to suffer from meat, let's come on down. I know Jason's a hunter. Just come on down, and we got ham and bacon aplenty. In fact, I live in the middle of Little Rock. We had a young doe and a buck come up the other day. He's I don't know, horns about 4 inches long, antlers about 4 inches long. Pretty deer. We got food everywhere. And there you go. Nutria make for great food. Really, I did not know that. I don't think I would eat a rat. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to eat something that looks like a rat. So, not when there's a beef and pork and ham and bacon. That's just not going to happen. What isn't a delicacy over there? That's true. I tell you what, this pandemic, some of the pictures I saw, some of the stuff in those wet markets, and the Davis who has gone to Thailand quite a few times, poking around, the stuff that is, enjoyed as a delicacy over there. I don't think I'd eat it. We got bats. I got bats flying around every night right about dusk. You can see them just swooping around eating the mosquitoes and whatnot. I don't think I'm going to eat one. I do not think I'd eat one. And the game you ran for CoboCon is the partner of a published adventure. No, actually, 42. I think, let's see, what did I do there? You guys, well, let me rephrase. So, yes and no. That area is covered in the adventure module C4 and the adventure module C5. C4 takes you north of the Miss Bain through the Wingnut Bottoms, I think, and into this low river country around the Washita and the Gertrude Falls, and that is C5. So yeah, you can actually play that. So I have to completely reverse what I said. Yes, those are actually, the adventure I specifically ran is not there, but all of that is covered. What's in the castle on Gertrude Falls that you guys passed underneath, all of that is covered in C4 and C5. So definitely check that out. If you look, I don't have it in front of me, but if the darkened fold is here, C1 takes place here, and then C2, and then C3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can actually circumvent the darkened fold kind of backwards. But if you get all C1 through C7, and I've got in my head, I haven't started writing it, but I am going to do a C0 here pretty soon. It's going to kind of be focused on the Cocklebar Inn and Tavern, which is a tavern there in Nick. I think they look more like a beaver. Yeah, they're big, man. They're not, those nutria are, I want to say they're like this big, and then their tails are like 10 inches or 8 inches or some such business. They're pretty stout, and I saw this horrible video, this biologist, he took, I don't know, like a quarter acre, I don't know, something like that, of this tall swamp grass. I don't know anything about marshes, but the deep grass, this 4 or 5 feet high, and he fenced a very small section of it, maybe 10 by 10 feet, so that nothing could get into that section. And he came back, I don't know what time frame, an indeterminate time later, and everything around that fence had been eaten down to the water line, and everything inside the fence was still intact. And that was the nutria. The environmental damage is huge that the nutria is doing on the wetlands there down in Louisiana. So that's why they shoot them on site. They just kill them all the time. I have always called them koipu. Never heard them called nutria. Yeah, I don't know how to spell it, Jason, but that's what I remember watching. I don't know. It was some kind of reality TV. I don't know. It was a long time ago. Something like that. How about I combine C1 through C7 for 5E like you did for C and C? We definitely are going to do that. We actually, there is a book called Beneath the something green? I don't know. Something, but it actually takes C1 and C7 in one book. And what I think I'm going to do, we did a limited box set version of that, and it had all kinds of stuff in it. I'm going to take that same kind of concept and not do all the extra stuff. I think it was tied to a Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure it was. And just do a generalized release of it in both 5th edition and Castles and Crusades. I mean, I really like the small adventure modules that we sell, but some of those guys have been out for 20 years now and 15 years or whatever, and we need more shelf space in the mailroom, and one big book takes up one spot, and 7 takes up 7. So that's been in my thought process lately. It's really all done. It just needs to kind of get a new ISBN and whatnot, and then kind of hobble together. I think one of the things that we are working on around here is redoing a lot of the maps. And I know, like, if you look at C1 and you walk it through it, chronologically through C7, the map styles, you can almost see the evolution of TLG's map styles. There's like 5 different styles in it. And I want all of that to be dress. I want it all to kind of be the same thing going forward. And that's one of the things Chuck's working on now, and with Davis is as well. We're looking at that Dungeon Fog software to actually make it so that we have to do one map. We do it in Dungeon Fog, and that map is carried over into the print version, the VTT versions, Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 and whatnot, and the PDF as well. So we kind of bring it all together in one big package. That is one of the many, many, many things that we are working on around here. Hey, we're just reminding everybody, blah, blah, blah. There's one dead on road down here last week. I can say, yeah, send a picture next time, John. I forget you're down in that neck of the woods. I may have to go down there and visit you, and I'll sit on your porch with a firearm and shoot nutria all down in the yard. So, I don't know if they've gotten that bad. It was that whatever I watched. I have no idea what I watched. I want to say it was an episode of Cops, but that makes no sense. Would Cops be doing that? Remember that show? I don't know if it's still on. Bad Boys. Surely not. I don't know. But I just need a different telling. It would be a big. Yeah, they're big. I mean, they're pretty big things. And I think they're indigenous to South America, and up here there's no natural predators, in the North American continent for them. So I'm guessing that will change in the next couple of decades as the hurricane that hit, I say it's Andrew, so this will be back in the 90s. That Andrew that destroyed the Gulf Coast, and so many snakes were released from pet stores that Florida and the Gulf Coast states are being overrun with boa constrictors or pythons or whatever. I don't know, whatever crazy snakes that don't normally stay here. And now we got these crazy ass hornets coming from Japan. It's like, we just want everyone to come to America and have a good time. So, geez, when I think about it, the heap of TLG projects need to get worked on by Charlotte. Yeah, don't think about it, Jason. Just focus on, you're working on Rings of the Red God. Just focus on the Red God. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We go to the post office so much, and with so many loads of books, that I was about a month ago, I was over there, actually right before the pandemic. And one of the ladies pointed to me, one of the postal clerks, and she said, "You know what that is?" And it was a huge basket of box, shipping out. And she said exactly what you did, Jason. She goes, "That's job security." It was really funny. I got to kick it. I know all those people up there. We've got a good relationship with the post office. I'm very happy with those people. Always very nice and accommodating, and work very hard for us. And I don't know that we've had but a dozen boxes lost. It's even that. I don't even think it's been that in the 20 years we've been using them. So good stuff. I know that. Good stuff. But yeah, anyway, so we've got all kinds of animals overrunning the country slowly from all sides. And there's been like a catfish or something they brought over from Japan, and it's moving up through all the river bottoms and whatnot. Just all kinds of stuff. All kinds of entertaining things going on in the world. And of course, it's nothing new. Creatures have been moving around this planet for a very, very long time. So it's nothing. It's nothing new. We maybe have accelerated it, maybe not. Who knows? Who could say? I wasn't around during the days of Australopithecus africanus, so I don't know how much species transmigration there was going on in those days. We can probably rest assured there wasn't a lot of animals getting in suitcases during the days of Australopithecus africanus. We can probably safe bet there. Zebra mussels in most ports on the Great Lakes. So where do zebra mussels come from? So is this another species that has wandered over here in someone's suitcase, or I guess on the bottom of a ship, probably, as opposed to a suitcase? I'm not sure. A friend of mine actually studies mussels down here in Arkansas. She does a lot of those tests. She goes out to the rivers, testing, tracking populations and whatnot. Japan and China. Why is everything coming over from Asia? What's going? What's that horrible vine? Kudzu, right? So kudzu is from Japan. I think they brought kudzu over into California as a decorative vine in like 1930s. I don't know. And good Lord, kudzu is everywhere, especially like in Georgia and Alabama. You can't. I think Georgia has much like came over in ballast. Yeah, there you go. I'm stuck on a ship. We're not talking about that. We need to stop with transoceanic stuff. Everybody just to go digital. Get the digital. It doesn't really work that way, but yeah, crazy stuff. Just crazy animals going all over the place. Plants, kudzu, and I don't know. Absolutely crazy. What is your thoughts on a DRM, digital rights management in the industry? Some companies release their products with little to no DRM or watermarks, and then you have some that lock things to type and multiple watermarks per page. What are your visions on all? Well, I was very slow to get in on the digital side of things with PDFs and whatnot. I was probably a couple of years. It was already kind of building up steam when I, joined the RPG Now community and da. And we set up the watermarks on that, and we just the standard watermark, and then we went on. I think 3 times now in the past decade or so, I've had people email me and say, hey, all of your content is up on the web. You can download all of it for free. And the first time, of course, I was pretty aggressive and responded, and then after that, I'm aggressive, but I responded to try to get it down. But I asked a guy that was helping us a lot, and he didn't work for us, but Jason Alexander, some of you may remember, he ran our board for the longest time. Super, super nice guy, huge gamer. But he was helping me with all of my, right, Daddy, yes, he was helping me with all of my computer stuff, COG computer stuff. So he took one of those books and relatively, I don't know, within a short period of time, managed to remove the watermark. And when I look at that stuff, it's almost impossible to protect your digital content. Almost. It's not impossible, but it's tough. And just because there's so many avenues and it's so easy just to throw around the net. So I don't actually put a lot of energy and thought into that. I look at it like this. So when we were kids, and I went down and I bought, what book did I finish the other day? Second book, Return of Tarzan. So I just finished The Return of Tarzan. And so I went down and bought The Return of Tarzan. I'm 10 years old. It cost me, 95 cents in those days, $1.25 something. And I'm done with it. And I want Jason to read it, so I gave it to Jason. And Jason wants Perry to read it, so he gives it to Perry. And Perry wants Effie to read it, and Effie read it. We did that a lot, right? We bought D&D books, and we shared D&D books. We shared all kinds of stuff, comic books. We swapped stuff all around. Is that good for the company that makes those books and comic books? Not great. It's not bad, because you're actually, if your product is decent, then it's getting into a lot of hands, and maybe you're getting more exposure than you would otherwise. So I look a lot at how things are being done now digitally in that light. I think, one, most people are honest, and I really believe it. I think the vast majority of people are honest and do the right thing, and they'll pay for it before they, snatch it off the net, or if they snatch it somewhere, they might go back and pay for it again. I think you see a lot of that. And two, I think getting how's it going? Second, I think getting too so there's that. I think that most people are honest, and I think that you almost can't protect it. Honestly, it's almost impossible to protect, and you can pursue it. You can spend an awful lot of time, energy, and effort. I used to be a part of, and actually the DRM was why I quit it. I was part of this industry talk, I guess an email thing. I don't know what it was. I think a lot of emails in the inbox every day, people complaining, and one of the things they complain the most about is people stealing their product and giving it away or whatever. And there's almost nothing you can do about it. We toyed with for a while putting a lot of advertisements in the product, but then that just kind of takes away from those people who are buying it and start playing it. Now they have to put up with this crap, so we kind of nixed that. So at the end of the day, we're pretty for TLG's purposes, you know, we put the watermarks on there. We put it up there, so just, you know, people know what it is and where it comes from. But it's almost impossible to protect it completely, and I think you can run yourself into the ground doing so. That said, we do look out for things that are specifically ours, specifically art. Like a lot of the art that I use is actually not owned by Trollword Games. If it's Jason Walton, if he does it, then we own it. But like Peter Bradley, he owns most of his art. So if I see, and we have seen this before, his art pops up in other people's publications, we'll threaten legal, you know, and every time they pull it down. So the whole DRM thing, I think publishers who take too much time and spend too much energy wrestling with it are really just barking up a tree that they can't control anyway. That was a horribly mixed metaphor. Barking up a tree you can't control. How can you control a tree anyway? What bark anyway? So anyways, I think that you should do it. You know, you should definitely watermark your stuff. Primarily let people know where it's coming from and what it is, and those download sites that it's just kind of like a short gatekeeper. It keeps those sites that are going to allow for free downloads. Most of them are not going to put stuff up that is obviously owned by someone else. So it gives you kind of a little bit of you know, stoppage there. But even that, it's I think you could spend a lot of time chasing that, chasing it. I think a gentle touch to it, a gentle touch with most things works. Unless your chainsaw got a tree with a chainsaw. Yeah, there you go. Chase the dog up the chain. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you control the tree with a chainsaw. That is true. You can cut the damn thing down and be done with it. Raven, you're a free PHB sold me on CNC. I ended up buying the complete game. But oh, fantastic, Raven. Very good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, we're very, very super proud of that book. It's really the flagship of everything we do around here. And when you get it, as you saw, you can roll with it, and you can start gaming. And I hope that you find that I found, and I know that a lot of other gamers find, once you start playing it, Castle and Shades is really, you can manipulate it. It's very versatile. You can do almost anything you want with it at the table, and your players will figure that out too. And you can just roll with it. And then, you know, of course, we've got other games, Amazing Adventures and Victorious, and Jason Vey is working on a whole slew of projects, but that all use that same mechanic, so that you can go from genre to genre, and you're still playing. You can actually take characters from your fantasy and jump them into Amazing Adventures flawlessly. So very cool on that. But I'm glad you have joined us, and glad you joined us here today. Speaking of which, if you've joined us today for the first time and you have not, please give us a follow. We sure appreciate it. And you know, spread the word about our Twitch channel. We're slowly adopting this new technology. I'm slowly doing it. Chuck's been doing it for years, but so we'll see how that plays out. Saying the few PHB got me in the game. Granted, I have alerts and look. That's cool. That's fantastic, Porter. That's fantastic. I purchased a digital copy of the Pathfinder 2e PHB, and my screen reader gave me a lot of trouble with it. It kept reading the watermarks over and over. I just gave up with it. That's part of the problem, too. I mean, if you make a product so unfriendly, then people aren't going to use it or use it. Or play it. You remember, I think they quit doing this, but 10 or 15 years ago, if you bought a magazine, this is probably why I quit buying magazines. If you bought a magazine and you opened the damn thing, there was like 40 little cards in there. Some of them would fall out. Some of them were you know, bound into the magazine itself. But it made reading that magazine just a nightmare. And I just eventually just quit reading magazines. And I'm pretty sure that had something to do with it. And that sort of is what the watermarking is. You can't, if your watermarks are splattered all over the page, and it interrupts with art, and it interrupts with tables, and especially some of these books that are carefully laid out with text gradients and what have you. So I mean, it's one of those things. Playing CNC with kids. Do you have any tips specifically for running a game with kids 8 to 10 in the CNC rule set? You know, I did for a while. I did a few games. I would do conventions for youngsters, and then I ran for my children and their friends. Not a lot, probably about a year or so. What I found out with kids is they will try anything, and I didn't stifle that. I mean, I let it go. I also gave them magic very quickly. You know, I'm pretty stingy in my Thursday night game. I don't give magic away very often. and experience is very slow. I think we talked about that last week, being the tricks of trade. Every year or so you gain a level of some craziness. But with kids, it's different. They want they got video games that they're playing, so you kind of got that. But that's not even it. That's a red herring to this conversation, because even when we were children, we wanted to kill stuff. Now, I was talking about this the other day when my Cain, when he was like 4 or something, he had a vorpal sword, and I was just cutting everything's head off, and I thought that was awesome. So I would recommend that you bring magic into the game sooner, so they have cool things that they're doing, and then just don't restrict. I wouldn't. What I would try to never do is say, okay, you can't do that or don't do that. Just let them do stuff, because they will do anything. And I remember the funniest thing. This girl, there's 4 girls and 4 boys at the table, 10 or 8 or 12, I don't know. They're all young, and some of them had rations, some didn't. Some of them put their characters, some didn't. But when I said, okay, knock off a day's rations for your travel, one of the girls who didn't have it written down, she asked what rations were, and we explained that you're supposed to have bought that during the equipment session. She said, okay. So then she started eating the orc that they had killed, and I thought, without missing a beat, it was just like eating the hogs we were talking about earlier, and I thought it was just so cool. I didn't make her get disease or anything like that. I just thought it was cool. She just went right into it. She spirit of the game and go. So that would be my recommendation. Just let their imagination run the game until they learn how to do it, and then like the one that now the kids have gone to college at this point, but so we don't play very often. But when we began that, it was 2, and it was Ellis was all about gowns, soaps, and perfumes. It was really funny, and role playing. She loved role playing. But Pete was not. Pete, that's my son, who you guys may know from his own Twitch stream, where he's shooting the crap out of things in Valorant. But Pete was about killing things and getting treasure. So, but fast forward 3 years of game time later, and they play. They actually are into figuring stuff out and doing adventures, and we kind of evolved the game into that. It was hard on me, though. I got to tell you, it was very hard for me to shift my gaming style. It was very, very hard to shift from my normal, gritty or realistic or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, high fantasy. I don't know what the word is, but it was hard for me to shift that into just throwing magic out there and whatnot. It was cool. Harvesters is a good game to do that too. Yeah, Hero Kids. Because at the end of the day, they're young and they don't want to worry about rations. Eating the orc is not part of it. They want to adventure and achieve greatness like we did when we were kids. I remember but having a discussion with a fellow publisher back in 2005 or 6 or 7 at the Vegas trade show, and they were talking about kids today don't read books. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to sit down and concentrate. Video games have got them all confused. And I was like, that's just bullshit. There's no part of that statement is true. When I was 10 back in 77, you dropped 900 pages of rules on my table and said, hey, I want to play this game next week, but I need you to read these rules. I was like, I ain't doing that. I'd go play with my Matchbox cars or my Marx toys or what have you and be done with it. And I remember even Davis, he said when we started playing with the Brown book, and I don't remember reading any of that stuff. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember. And then later when he got the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, he got the Monster book first, of course, then he got the Player's Handbook later. And he gave me the book and he said, you have to read this. And I remember we were in my other brother's room, and when he gave me that book, I said, I gave it back and said, I'm not reading this. We kept playing. I'm not reading that. It's crazy. I can hardly read Castles and Crusades rules, much less all that. So it's not that kids don't read or don't have the attention span or any of that stuff. It's that the game has become, sometimes our games are a little bit ponderous, and we make it look that way so that we disinvite them from the experience. Whereas if you do, like you're talking about, just dive right in with the heroes, make them heroes in the beginning and don't worry about all of that other crap, they're going to get into it and then evolve into players that either don't like a game and they go on else to do other stuff, or they'll really like a game. And most people really get into it because of the imagination play. Regarding gaming with kids, keep it fun. A friend used a new Jumanji movie idea with the tattoos and the number of lives. Plus, since they don't know 80s type cartoons, you can totally steal from even. Oh yeah, that's a great idea right there, Ultra Magnet. That's a great idea. And Jumanji is a perfect example of it. It's basically kids becoming heroes, and that's just cool. And that's really what they want to do. That's what we all want to do, right? That's kind of why we play role-playing games. Finishing up this Return of Tarzan. It's been a little while since I've read. I read the first one not long ago, about a year and a half ago, which I think is I think one of the coolest stories. It's like King Kong. It's obviously dated. There's elements in it that are going to be a little offensive, and there's elements in it that are kind of jarring. But if you put it back in the time frame of 1912 or 10 or whenever it was written, it's the industrial, the world was becoming industrialized, or had become industrialized, and it's Africa and then the islands that are very primitive, and so you still have a taste of the primitive, somewhere to go. And both of those tales, King Kong and Tarzan, are that. It's the industrialization of the world, and they're trying to escape back into the primitive when life was, pure and just violence commanded it, and it wasn't all of this, whatever we're doing, whatever is going on, the complexity of modern society. But in reading The Return of Tarzan, what struck me the most, because I was kind of reading it, I don't know, paying a little bit more attention to it, I guess, how insanely decisive Tarzan is. When you get it now, forget all the movies, just the movies, all of them except Lord of Greystoke. Just forget all that stuff. Go with the books if you've read the books. And again, you got to keep in mind they're a little bit dated. Tarzan is brutal, absolutely brutal. He is primeval. Skaggs is raiding us. Thanks for the raid, Skaggs. Very much appreciated. Welcome to the Troll Den. We're talking about all kinds of stuff right now. We've digressed into Tarzan, but he's insanely decisive. He never questions himself. When he's thrown into an environment or into a problem, he doesn't. There's none of that. So it's very, very famous. Or not famous. It's very popular now in literature, movies, and television to take your hero and kind of grind him up. You want your hero to be ground down to a nub and then rise again from the darkness of despair of the situation. We've seen it. And Luke Skywalker is going to be the latest example of that in whichever movie is the second one. I can't remember what it was. Right? No, Rise of Skywalker is the last one, whichever one. So Luke has, he almost killed his nephew or cousin, whoever. I can't keep all these people out. I can hardly keep my own family straight, much less the Skywalkers. But anyway, so he in despair, he retreats to this island and he gives up his Jedi ways, and this is it, right? We're breaking them down. You see it with Rick in The Walking Dead. We're breaking them down. We take these heroes and we break them down so that and the idea is he's a superhero here. You break him down into a nub and you bring him back, and he's stronger because of it. He survives the temptation. He survives, all of these things. Your hero is stronger because of it. Well, in Tarzan, there's none of that. There's none of that. There is reading this. He's, if you've ever read Tarzan, he's all over the place. His adventures in this book alone took him from America to England to Paris to Oran to the Congo. I mean, he's just all over the place. And several times he's almost killed. He's thrown in the ocean. He's literally thrown off a boat and into the ocean. And he doesn't despair. He doesn't question it. He doesn't even shout. He literally, Burroughs goes out of his way to describe how he doesn't even shout for help as he falls off of the boat and into the ocean, and he swims. He backstrokes for a while or whatever until he bumps into this old carcass of a ship that has a raft tied to it. And he gets in the raft and he rows back home, to Africa. And it's funny though when you're reading it, because there's no part of that theme of the hero is broken down. And you see this in older literature. It's something I actually really, really like. Conan's this way. Conan doesn't break down. Conan doesn't go through these deep, dark, despairing moments, right? He's plundering and killing. He goes to the Tower of the Elephant. He almost gets killed, and he just forces through his force of will. He, destroys the demons and what have you. You see it in Tolkien. I can't think of anyone. I guess sort of Frodo does. That's true, Jason. That's true. Conan doesn't live in deep, dark, despairing moments. Frodo sort of goes through this, but not really. It's the ring that is weighing him down, right? It's not. I don't know. I can't. Maybe Frodo does it a little bit, but that he does. But in this literature, Tarzan doesn't date himself or doesn't question himself. He's decisive, and he is savage as all get out. The dude will kill anybody. Like you said, Magnus, he will drop a rope around someone's neck and hang them in a heartbeat, and he doesn't care. He uses bodies to scare people. It's crazy, but it's very primeval, and it's very much. And the point of all of this is, this is how children play. They don't want to go through all of this grindhouse of terror that we put our our normal groups through. What they want to do is be that hero. They want to be that Tarzan or that Conan or Gandalf or whoever it is, and they are the heroes. They're winning. They get to win. Superman, I don't like it when I don't mind when DC and Marvel take their heroes and kind of run them through the grist mill. I really don't. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of character building. Except for 2 or 3, really. I have no tolerance for it with Superman, Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman. They should never be questioning themselves. One, he's Superman. He's Superman. Stop. That's all you got to say. He's Superman. He doesn't question himself. The whole purpose behind Green Lantern, of course, is he knows no fear, so he shouldn't be questioning himself either. And Wonder Woman. She's Wonder Woman. You don't need to go any further than that. Superman, Wonder Woman. You got it. They're not going to question themselves. Beyond that, I'm okay with it. But I do like heroes that are kind of that break that. And now, of course, it's all of them. You can't watch a show or a movie that your hero's not broken down and kind of chewed back out. And it's okay if the story calls for it. I think The Walking Dead, it was necessary for Rick, but a lot of stuff does not. Is John Carter similar to Tarzan in not questioning himself? Yeah, I think so. Carter, I think, is a very unique character, but he certainly cuts in the same cloth and is always moving forward. Yeah, I don't remember. I haven't read any Carter in a long time. I read the first book not long ago. And his is more, Carter's tale is as much kind of tied up with 𝚃𝚘𝚘𝚕𝚔 and his love of her as it is with just the primeval. And, of course, it's science fiction, and it's not. When you get into Tarzan, Burroughs goes out of his way time and time again to tell you that he is an ape. He's not a man. He is an ape. He was raised by apes. He considers himself an ape, and he responds to, situations as just from that primeval force of nature. Now, Tarzan is King Kong. He is that primeval force of nature that the industrialization of the world was destroyed. Carter's different. Carter is, he's the gentleman from Virginia, I think. He's the gentleman from Virginia who's transplanted into this world of epic siege and combat and struggle and love and all that stuff. So Carter's a little bit different. But Jason's right. He doesn't blink. Carter does not blink from... I don't ever remember him going through a period, and I read all of the books years ago. I don't ever remember Carter going through a period of self-doubt, and maybe, but I don't. John Carter's fantastic stuff. The first one's really, really good, and the other ones, they're good. Book 2 is really good, too, actually. But I recommend Burroughs. Like I said, you got to take it, especially Tarzan. You got to be careful with it because it is dated. There's some racism in there, and Burroughs had a few opinions that don't really jive with anything. Just and he learned over time. But I think in book 4 he made the Germans the villain because of World War I, and afterwards, in the early 1920s, his book started selling like absolute madness in Germany until book 4 was released, and the Germans were made the bad guys. Then they just started pulling them off the shelves everywhere. So he learned from, if nothing else, from that. If no Great Awakening. But when you read Tarzan, and I'd always recommend reading that first book, understand that there's some dated material in it. It's going to be jarring to the mind. That doesn't take away from the literature. It's prior to its time, of course, and really in the epic theme of things, you'll see this struggle between the primeval and the industrial world. That's really what you're seeing in Tarzan. Whether Burroughs meant it or not, I don't know. I can't tell you, but that's definitely what he hit, and that's definitely a part of his epic, because starting in the 1860s, I guess, we start just industrializing like insanity, England, Germany, and the United States, and Japan joined in at the turn of the century, and then France, of course, and Italy, northern Italy. So the world was changing, and Africa, that had been this continent of an impossible continent to penetrate, really even the slave trade that the Portuguese, the Spanish, and the Muslims practiced so heavily, was really a coastal thing. They didn't go deep into Africa. It was dangerous. It was deadly. And it was just a hard place to survive. So it was still primeval at the turn of the century. It's interesting stuff. I recommend Tarzan, the first Tarzan, definitely. Let's see. Warlord. Yeah, the Warlord of Mars. Yeah, that's the first one, right? No, John Carter of Mars? I can't remember the title of the first book. I never finished the Venus series. Burroughs is very interesting. I've always said, I was a huge Burroughs fan as a kid. I read Burroughs like nuts, and I've always said about Burroughs, he wrote 2 books. He published 98 books, or 96 or something. He wrote 2. Well, really, I'll give it 3. He wrote 3 books. There's Tarzan of the Apes. There's I Am a Barbarian, and then the other 90-something books. Kind of the same book. Kind of the same characters go through these wild adventures where they get separated, and then they find ancient artifacts and ancient civilizations, and then they all come together at the end. He had he was very attached to his form, and it worked. It worked very well for him. It's good. It was a great read for me as a kid, and to this day I still enjoy it. I have to say, I finished this book, I don't know, 2 to 3 days ago, and it was a fun read because it was just light, and I liked the hero. It was refreshing to see a hero not doubt himself, not once, which is kind of cool. I liked it. So we are here for Ask Me Anything. Let me see. I think I missed a question there. Siege rules are so easy to use. How did you arrive at them from the 3rd edition OGL rules? Was it just an aha moment, or did it take a lot of work to arrive at those core mechanics that work so well, so easily? So there was a number of factors that kind of played into the development of the Siege engine. First off, when we first began publishing in 1999/2000, we wrote the books in '99 and released them at Gen Con 2000. We did a game called Swords and Wizardry, and that was in the back. And Mac had taken, by that point, the OGL was out, and he had, because he was part of the lawyer group or the design group that was discussing the legal aspects of the OGL, he had access to some of the rules. So when he and Davis sat down and kind of crafted Swords and Wizardry, it was specifically to gear itself for 3rd edition. So that we couldn't use the logo at the time because it wasn't going to be out until just before Gen Con, and only, I think, Necromancer Games and Atlas Games had permission to do it. But we could certainly make games like it. So we created the Mortality of Green, which is C1, which we've talked about today, Buchan, and Fantastic Adventures, were all written for Swords and Wizardry. And if you look at it, if you can get a hold of a copy of those things, that might be downloadable somewhere, but you'll see there's a lot of similarities to 3rd edition there. And that was intentional on that part to make it palpable. Now, when Davis and Mac did that, they actually began toying with rules design, and both of them are, and I had nothing to do with Stephen, very little to do with it. Both Davis and Mac are huge, they love game design. Davis really loves it. Mac loves it as well. Jason knows. They have, whenever they get together, they all the talking heads get together, 3 of them, and love talking rules and creation and all that stuff. Rule creation, and so it was always kind of a conversation. But then, of course, we got the license, and 3rd edition was selling the thing well for us. Blah 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 blah. Fast forward into about 2004. I remember talking to John Nesbitt at Atlas Games, and he warned me. He was an old veteran doing this for years and years and years. And he warned me the market was getting saturated and was going to collapse, and we needed to start looking around. So I never got into 3rd edition that much. It's a great game, but it wasn't for me, so I didn't play it that much. This is kind of wove in at the same time Gary was fishing around. Gary Gygax, who we were publishing, was looking for a publisher to do Castle Zaggis. Now, we were his main publisher, but he was shopping it around, and I told him to please, get as much money out of it as you possibly can. But he couldn't find anyone that he really wanted to work with, so we ended up, we just worked, Gary and I worked very well together, and struck the deal and all that. But his thing was we had to have, Castle Zaggis has to have something that's very much like Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. So we had me on one side, not wanting to sell D20 anymore. We knew that it was collapsing. We had Gary needing a game that was somewhat like Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. We have Davis and Mac, who have been all the time just, throwing ideas across at each other. They would run them by me, but I didn't want to do it. But I just, in those days that we didn't play 3rd edition, at my table we played AD&D. And I remember Mac said to me, he goes, what is going to get you, what do you need to do to have a new game? What kind of new game do you need to promote it, to sell it? What do you want? And I remember I said to him, it's got to be like AD&D. It's got to be as simple as Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Because in those days I had created my own attribute check system, and by created I mean basically I would roll a dice, and I would tell you, I would literally pick up whatever dice I saw first, D8, and I'd roll it. I'd say, give me a number between 1 and 8, and then I had a challenge. I didn't know it was a challenge level, but I had a challenge level in my in my head, and you either succeeded or failed. Mac knew what I was doing, and he wanted to bring some kind of order to that. So he and Davis, who had been kind of working on these concepts with a little bit of structure out of third edition, they were working on these concepts. It all kind of married up. Gary needed a game. We needed, Troller Games needed a game as well, something that we could use with the OGL, and it had to have many elements from A, B, and D. And the simplicity part of it was the thing that, so Davis likes rules. He loves rule complexity. He really does. The more complex the rules are, the happier Davis is. And Mac is sort of between me and him. I don't want any rules. I want to just, what was that, live theater or something. And Davis, and Mac is somewhere in the middle. He wants enough structure that everything is covered, but that leaves you plenty of room to maneuver. And they developed what was called the EGG system. Now, you'll have to ask Davis what EGG stands for. It was a homage, obviously, to Gary Gygax, but it actually was an acronym for it. I cannot remember what it was for. And that was the early, genesis of the Siege Engine. And I remember them running it across my desk. They were super excited about this attribute check system that they were working on, and it took them a little while. Now, again, I can't really speak too forward into how it got into the 12 and the 18. It was tied into the concept of edge, and it was tied into the attributes and character class. And anyway, so they developed it with roots firmly in third edition, but really deeply in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, with a rule complexity from Davis wanting, structure, and then from Mac wanting freedom, and me needing freedom to actually run it and play it. So it was kind of an amalgam of all these things. And the nice thing is for the Castle Zaggig side of stuff, two things. My only part of the rules development for the Siege Engine, and this is where the simplicity comes in. Not completely. The mechanics are simple, but any rule that was going to go into the player's handbook, and that was kind of the beginning. We wanted one book. Any rule that was going to go into the player's handbook, I had to be able to read in one pass and know what was meant by it, or it got kicked back to Davis and Mac, and they had to rewrite it. And it was a lot of kicking back. I do not have a brain for rules. I can read literature all day. I can read setting material all day. I love it. I love mythology. I love all of that stuff. But as soon as you say 18 plus 4, my brain is like, I'm out. I'm done. What is that mic drop? I'm done. Or whatever. And I'm out. So we would do these rules, and they had to be very simple. And then when they cleared me, we would send them to Gary to make certain that it fit with Castle Zaggig with the tone. So you have this very deep AD&D influence with the mechanical drive behind third edition to kind of bring structure and order to it, with the simplicity on top of all of that. And Mac and Davis, I think, did, honestly, and I'm not, I should toot the game's horn more often, but I think Castle Zaggig really, with the Siege Engine, hit it really well. That game is, if you've not played it, I recommend you download the Player's Handbook. It's free on the site right now. Have a gander at it, play a few rounds. You will find out how crazy easy, and in fact, you'll evolve as a gamer into it. You'll learn how to use the Siege Engine to, manipulate your game style. I hope that answered your question. Somewhere I've got this all written up in a little history, but the actual physical development of it, I wasn't a huge part of that, other than to approve things. But I know that Mac and Davis spent a good year hammering it out, and it was a lot of emails back and forth testing. Because I vaguely remember there was a 15, was it 17? There were other numbers that they worked with, but the 6-point spread really landed, and I'd have to ask Mac why that landed. The 12-18 spread worked very well. Isn't that a formula for everything? In the end, all RPG is the same. You all practice with friends. All Agatha Christie is the same. You read about a mystery, all and it shows and what's ours. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it does. It kind of grinds. You're doing the same stuff over again, and you might have these eureka moments, that change that are different here. A lot of it is, and that's one reason, Skagit, that I enjoyed Tarzan so much, because though the stories are kind of the same, what was different about it is, like in book 8, he finds this ancient Roman civilization. In book 5, it's Opar, it's this ancient ape, anthropod, humans who have devolved back into apes. I mean, it was just cool reading it because, and that's really the strength of John Carter, better than Tarzan. When you get into John Carter, it goes into the science fiction, science fantasy realm, and he really gets to push his imaginative, his imagination. When you're in Tarzan, it's all earthbound. All of the most you got some dinosaurs, but most of the monsters are human and animal and dinosaur and that type of. Most of them are evil people that are trying to kill Jane or whatever. But when you get to John Carter, it's a whole different ballgame. Even though it's a little bit. It's not even out there. No, it's just with the 4 arms on the Tharks and the beasts that have 6 legs and what's his little pet dog-like creature that's so crazy aggressive, and it's a world of extraordinary violence and it's a world of extraordinary creativity, and here you get into this whole different racial paradigm that breaks with whatever thought process he may have in an earthly setting. It's just John Carter takes it in a wholly different thing. He takes that same kind of concept and gives you so much greater, more lively setting to be in. I love Carter. I absolutely love John Carter. I do have to say, I absolutely love how all of Tarzan, all of Burroughs' heroes are naked. They're naked all the time. I know that the whole female body armor thing has become a meme, in our own community for years now. But if you read any Tarzan, if you read any John Carter, they are always naked. They don't wear armor at all. It's really funny. It cracks me up. Tarzan at the center of the earth put him in a slightly different thing. I love those, Pellucidar. I love the Pellucidar books. And those are very interesting. Was the Land of Time Forgot? Which is the one where you go, there's the primeval world of dinosaurs, and you can go through the evolution of man. Through the whole, I think that's Pellucidar. I think because you end up with, like, cavemen, and then these highly advanced civilizations. Tarzan and Center of the Earth was very, very cool. I very, very much into the 7 Pellucidar books. Very, very good books. And they were unique. They had some interesting. But I think it goes to show that if you like something, let's say Tarzan, reading Tarzan book 43, even though it's the same as 42, but with another jungle or place of names, you get your fixed Tarzan story, as you can get from fantasy RPGs upon certain edition of a game or watching Star Trek. Absolutely. You get your fix and you get a bit happy living alone. And that's the thing. You're spot on, Skag. I guess in Tarzan for me, and when I was a kid, Tarzan was that hero who he never doubted himself. He never, there was none of that stuff. So I could pick up a Tarzan book and enjoy it without having to worry of whatever, without having to sweat things. I don't know, whatever the terminology is. I always recommend, I recommend books. You just got to take it. You just keep in mind when it was written. There's all kinds of things that have evolved, obviously, for the better. So you just keep that in mind. But the first book, to me, is like King Kong. I've always said King Kong is probably my favorite movie, primarily because of its concept. You can debate special effects and whatever, Jack Black in the original 33 version or whatever. But King Kong had everything from the primeval to the industrial to man trying to conquer and control the primeval, to exploiting the primeval, to love, an ethereal love almost. It just has, there's everything in King Kong that you're thirsting for, if the clash of, the passing of an ancient world and into the modern world, which we obviously are in now. When you go to Instagram, good Lord, people are everywhere. It cracks me up that people are literally everywhere. They're in deep holes beneath the ocean, swimming around in one of those ponds beneath the water, and swimming, and it's just absolutely, they're on top of Mount Everest. They're everywhere. There's nowhere that we haven't poked our heads, which is fine. It's the way the world is, it's the way things are. But it wasn't that way in 1900. It was a very different world. We've moved on. Of course, we're stepping, aren't we? We're right on that precipice of exploring the new, which will be the asteroid belt and Mars and Moon. We're very close to that, to the primeval, to nature being a serious problem for us as we go out. And there's no oxygen, and there's no whatever, and bacteria. God knows what's out there. And I strongly recommend, with that TV show, The Expanse. If you haven't watched The Expanse, I strongly recommend it. It'll give you a taste a taste of what's coming for humanity, just as King Kong and Tarzan were giving 19th century man a taste of what they were living inside. Strongly recommend it. Well, I think we're a little bit over our time here, and if anyone has any questions, fire them over real quick. I know I really digressed this time. I apparently had Tarzan on my head. And Skaggers, I don't want you to think that I in any way think it's bad that a lot of these books are kind of the same. It's absolutely, I love it. It doesn't bother me at all. I watch a Walking Dead episode and it's kind of, they've done the same thing in different, aspects about 3 times now. I'm okay with that. I'm enjoying it. It's great stuff. Sometimes the episode's not great. Most times it is. So you roll with it. We're all robots. There you go. What is that? I know Twain had something, but they say all the time, history repeats itself. And I don't think that's true. I think that there's patterns in history, and I think there's patterns in history because we're all Homo sapiens, right? All of us. And our brains are built and structured in such a way that there's patterns, and we respond to stimuli similarly. We respond to threats. We respond to, romantic entanglements. We respond to all of these things kind of similarly because our brains have evolved similarly. We're all Homo sapiens. I think that there's a little bit of truth to life is the same. We were all robots because the reason that history seems to repeat itself is because we respond in patterns that our brain are kind of built to do. That's kind of my off-the-wall biology. It's probably a little bit off there. Yeah, there you go. But at any rate, I want to thank everybody for showing up, for asking me anything. I super enjoy these conversations. I'm glad you guys come out and participate, and please don't hesitate to say, ask questions or make comments like Skaggers and everybody's been doing today in Epi. Absolutely love the feedback. And it's good really for me. You were running Troll Lord games because we get blinders on in a huge way, and it's nice to know. It's nice to say, have you guys tell me, hey, look over here, this is actually happening as well, because we get kind of caught up in things. But thanks for showing up, and we'll be here. I'll be here Thursday night at 8 for GM Tricks of the Trade, and then I'll be back again next Tuesday. And we're ratcheting the channel up. I keep saying that every week. I promise it's coming. We've got more stuff coming. So good stuff for us all, hopefully. And well, thanks, Skaggers. Thanks, Samuel. Well, everybody, what is the best drink and why is it Dr. Pepper? Dr. Pepper is just delicious. Now, only drink it out of a can, a cold can. It needs to chill for at least 12 hours. Drink it out of a can. Don't drink it out of anything else. Don't drink it with ice. It's just delicious. Absolutely delicious. So that's my, one of these days I'm going to put up my 23 rules to drink on 21. I can't order this. 23 flavors and 21 rules. I can't remember. I got 21 rules for drinking Dr. Pepper to make it a great experience. Like eating spicy nacho Doritos. It brings the flavor of Dr. Pepper out in a major way. Always keep that in mind. So, all right, I got to go. Thank you all for showing up. I sure appreciate it, and we'll see you on Thursday night. And have a good week. Stay safe, and happy gaming all. All right, I got strange stop streamings here. I'll just pick one. I got 2. All right, everybody, take it easy. Stop.